Hi there. Welcome to the End Times Guy podcast. My name is Lee. Great to have you along today. I guess I'm just going to have to come out and admit I'm trans. It's the right thing to do. And you're probably thinking, what? I'm not trans as we know it, but every born again Christian is trans. You know, 21 years, the first 21 years of my life, I was a sinner, living apart from God, dead to the spiritual world, unaware of all the spiritual forces and powers in high places, dead to that world. And when I confessed with my mouth Jesus Christ is Lord and believed in my heart that God had raised him from the dead, something wonderful happened in my life, and my life began to change. I began to transition. And I'll tell you what, it's been 29 years and I'm still transitioning. I'm still being refined and purified and perfected. And I look back and I say, wow, it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And to think of all that the Lord has removed from my life and all the good he's replaced it with is just monumental. Now, here's the thing about trans folks as we know them in our society, transitioning from one gender to another. They don't realize just how deep true transition is. All they're doing is cosmetics, really, giving the appearance. I'll use Jessica Ives in Langley is a male. I believe his name is Jonathan or Justin, and he's transitioning. So that means that he's wearing longer hair and makeup, wearing girls' clothing, taking hormone therapy. And I'm not sure. I know he hasn't had gender reassignment surgery done to his privates. He's still very much male there because one of the areas he got in, made his name known was going into Brazilian wax places and asking for a bikini wax. And hello, that isn't a woman. And the women didn't want to go there, and I don't blame them. They never took that job expecting to have to deal with this kind of nastiness. So let's step back for a moment and consider Jonathan or Justin, whatever his name is, and just how truly female is he? Well, aside from a couple of cosmetics, the appearance of breasts, which really are not breasts, longer hair, which even men have, makeup, which some men wear, means nothing. There is no essential qualification as female in those exterior cosmetics. His chromosomes are male. His DNA is male. His bone structure is male. His muscular structure is male. I'm not just talking his size. Men have more muscle groups than women and denser muscle. We are different on every level. So for this man to transition to a female, I want you to consider what would truly have to be done. That his chromosomes would have to be changed. His DNA would have to be changed. His bone structure would have to be changed. His muscular structure would have to be changed. He would need a womb and ovaries. And, it can't be done. We cannot change him into a man. I'm just using this as a point of reference when we talk about the Christian life, because this is what God is doing in us, transitioning us from a sinner to a saint. But God isn't satisfied with putting a wig and lipstick on us. He's working at every level, changing every part of us. God gave us the gospel, and it's so profoundly simple that I love it. I was talking to my daughters about it, and we came up with the analogy that God handed us the gospel in the form of a toddler's toy. A very simple little plastic thing. There's nothing to it. There's no complication. Anyone can take hold of it, no matter what their IQ is. In fact, it turns out that people with lower IQs receive it better because they're not stumbling over the lack of wisdom. They can accept it as simple. And that's, you read that in Corinthians. No, it was in Colossians where Paul says, remember, no, it was in Corinthians. Not many among you are wise or learned, meaning that primarily those who were receiving the gospel were of lower IQ. And Paul goes on to say, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble, and uses the things that are not to disprove the things that are. And that's just wonderful. It's God doing things his way. The gospel on our end is so simple. The thief on the cross said 6 words, and he was done, man. That was the gospel right there. He said, Lord, remember me in your kingdom. 6 simple words. And that did it. That did everything. Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. Think about what he said. First of all, with his mouth, he confessed that Jesus Christ is Lord. Second of all, he believed in his heart that God would raise him from the dead. That's the gospel. That's all there is to it. He said 6 words. He's in. That's it. All done. God does the work. We just do that little part of obedience, and that's all there is to it. It ultimately comes down to the question, is God a liar? Or is God true? That's all there is to it. Is God a liar or is he true? If God is true, then that's his gospel. Confess with your mouth, Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart, God has raised him from the dead. That's all it takes on our end. But there's another end to the gospel. God's end is ridiculously complicated. God is doing all the work, all the heavy lifting. Our end is surprisingly simple. His end is really, really complex. He's changing us at a molecular level. Our chromosomes, our DNA, our skeletal structure, the fabric of our heart. It's going on so many levels. But this is the work of God. This is absolutely the work of God. I've been in this transitional phase for 29 years, and I am so different from the young man who came to Jesus. I'm not the same person at all. And I praise God for that. I like who God is making me, and I really didn't like the person I was. And I want you to consider this when discussing transitioning with trans and LGBT people. They're looking at their life, and they have a deep-seated dissatisfaction. Clearly, they can't be satisfied with their lives if they're looking at becoming someone completely new, looking for a brand new identity. It's obvious they don't like or want the identity that they have. I think many of these people haven't heard the gospel. I think they're longing to be a new creation and trying to achieve that without Christ. And this is where this gender madness is coming from. It's increased 400% in the past 10 years, and it's been proven in a university study that it isn't a biological response. This isn't a biological prompting. It's not suddenly something in our air or water or, is causing people to want to transition. It's a social construct, and people tend to go in droves from one or another online group, online community. You'll have 20 or 30 people in an online community, and all at once 15 of them will come out as trans, all together. So this is a societal thing, which really speaks to my heart. These people are looking for a place to belong. They're looking for a deeper connection to other people. And they realize that who they are isn't who they want to be. All of this cries out to me that they need the gospel. They need the ultimate transition from sinner to saint. This is what they desire in their hearts, but they're not hearing the gospel. They're not aware that there is a transition. The mother of all transitions is to change who you are at a very, very deep level. They're playing with surface things. Do you think when they go home at night with their fake boobs and they wipe off the lipstick that everything is right in their world? I know for a fact, and studies in Europe have proven this, that they are very miserable people, and the suicide rate is way up. They try and blame that on a lack of social acceptance, but the reality is they do all of this work. They make these steps of transition, but at the end of the day, when they're alone in their home, they know that they're ruining the life that they had. That's all they're doing. They're destroying the life that they had. And when their mind clears and they decide that they've made a mistake, in many cases, it's too late to turn around. How do you go back? So you have to keep playing the charade when you know deep down that pull to be something different hasn't gone away. The desire to be freed from sin, to be conformed to the image of Christ is still deep down within them. But now in the mirror, they see a Frankenstein, some sort of freak that isn't even them. And, you know, it's a horrible, horrible thing that's going on. And I would like to, my daughters and I do a Bible study daily, and we've been praying for the LGBT community, that God would open their eyes. And, you know, we need to be praying that God will send ministers into their midst. Now, of course, in California, that is illegal now. In California, because of, I think it's Bill AC 99, conversion therapy is against the law. So one of these people who realizes they're making a mistake here can't even find resources legally to get their life straightened out. I mean, we are battling principalities and powers in high places, and they're controlling many parts of the government. Some call it the deep state, deeply entrenched liberal leaders who run so much of the bureaucracy behind the scene. They control the education systems and many branches of the government. A lot of the counseling that government workers receive is very twisted. You know, we are in a fight here, and I want us to use the most powerful weapons that we have available to us, and that is prayer and the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. When Jesus sent the 72 out to preach the gospel, they came back rejoicing at all they had seen, and Jesus was standing there just smiling. He says, I tell you the truth, I saw Satan cast down from heaven like lightning. That's how you really harm principalities and powers in high places. Start spreading the gospel. Just like Paul did, Christ and him crucified. Nothing complicated about it. It's God who will open their eyes to the truth, and they'll suddenly start asking questions and getting curious and wanting to come around. So let's just be faithful and do our part. Thank you for joining me. God bless you.